It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, with a review of The Mandalorian, Season 1, Episode 2, The Child. Uh, I'm not going to bother with screen caps for this one, just because I don't want to spend too long on this, and there's really not much to show. Alright, so in the last episode, The Mandalorian went on his mission, which he was given by Werner Herzog's character, to find a life form who is described as being 50 years old. And he's supposed to bring him back alive. He has to go to this desert planet that kind of looks like Tatooine, but isn't. You know, it's kind of the same problem we've seen with the Disney trilogy on the big screen, where they take planets that really should, we really should have already seen, and that should just be referenced as the planets we've already seen before. But, again, for some reason they feel the need to put it on different planets. So the action is set about 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and we have a Mandalorian who's part of like this dwindling race of warriors, very religious, very ritualistic. Their weapons are their religion, or part of their religion, and they basically they have to earn their armor in pieces. Like, okay, so in episode 1, he got a shoulder armor piece after fulfilling a quest. So, and then of course, the woman who forges these pieces out of Beskar metal, basically his payment for this mission is Beskar metal, enough to, make his armor. So, he goes to this desert planet. He finds the life form with the help of an elderly alien who lives in the valley, and basically wants there to be peace. And he knows that there won't be as long as mercenaries and bounty hunters keep coming along. So he realizes that the Mandalorian can probably get the job done, in which case, peace and quiet can return to his home. So he finds a Yodaling, or a Yoda baby, which is what I'm going to call this little guy from now on. Again, I'm not really sold on this little baby being 50 years old, because, again, just because Yoda was over 900 years old when he died doesn't mean that he necessarily took 900 years to become an old man. Because, he'd already been training Jedi for 800 years, and I just don't see him being taken seriously as a Jedi warrior and later a Jedi master, able to train Jedi in his own right if he's still a child when he's 100 years old. So that's the thing that kind of almost breaks suspension of disbelief, except that the show itself kind of salvages the concept by actually being surprisingly well written. So, he blasts an IG battle droid unit who's under orders to terminate the child. And that's episode 1. So episode 2, we find him taking the child back to his ship. They're ambushed by mercenaries. The Mandalorian beats him off. He's wounded in the process, so he stops for the night to patch himself up. The child, keeps getting out of his little floater crib, or whatever it is. Basically, I'm guessing to try and tend to his wound, although, Mandalorian doesn't understand this. He figures he's just a baby and he's, being annoying, so he keeps putting him back in his cradle. Anyway, they finally reach the Mandalorian's ship the next morning, while it's in the middle of being scavenged by Jawas. Now, we don't know how Jawas got here on this planet, if it's not Tatooine. Maybe they're a spacefaring race themselves, and they hide out on desert planets and they're giant sandcrawlers. I don't know. It's not really stated. Because if this is Tatooine, then there should be elements of Mos Eisley and stuff like that, but we don't really see it. So and there's really no reason not to believe that this is possible. So I'm going to let it slide for now. So anyway, the Mandalorian, starts blasting them from a distance after he spies them scavenging his ship. Manages to get down to the area where he chases after the sandcrawler after it gets started moving. He takes out a number of Jawas, but they've got the advantage of numbers. They electrify his armor, send him tumbling to the ground, and so he ends up having to go back to the old man to get help because he's basically stranded. His ship has been basically stripped of every usable part. It can't fly. So the old man decides, well, okay, and I'm just going to call this guy I have spoken because he seems to end every sentence with that. So yeah, it's very interesting quirk of this alien character, and which is a thing that I put up as a point in this show's favor, is that the aliens are real characters. They have quirks. They have real emotions and depth and background, and very well written actually, all things considered. So he decides, well, there's only one real way because Jawas are scavengers, not destroyers, so they're probably just going to resell the parts. So he decides, okay, well, we're just going to go and negotiate a trade for your ship parts because that's really the only feasible way to get it back. So they do that. And again, we get a little bit of character building for the Mandalorian because the Jawas demand that he put down his weapons before approaching them. And he says, I'm a Mandalorian, weapons are part of my religion. So, we're developing this character, we're fleshing him out. Which is good. We still don't know his actual name, but, we're getting little tidbits and little pieces of his background. So, the Jawas demand this egg as payment for getting his ship parts back. And he goes to fight what turns out to be this giant woolly cave rhinoceros, which covered in mud and everything. And the Mandalorian is actually getting his ass kicked throughout this episode. I mean, he's competent enough. I mean, don't get me wrong, but he is still very much human under that armor, and he's probably is not nearly as experienced as people who've been in the business longer. He's certainly no Boba Fett, but he does do his damnedest, and as good as he is, so he does have his limits. He's a mortal man. Yeah, so but then just as he is being charged by the giant cave rhino, and he's beat up, he's defeated, he's preparing for that final blow, and all of a sudden the Yodaling waves his arm and uses the force to lift the cave rhino off the ground for a few seconds before he passes out from the effort. And then Mandalorian takes advantage of this to use his knife to find a vital artery, stab cave rhino in the neck, brings it down, fishes out this woolly egg from the mud inside the cave, and takes it back to the Jawas, who then celebrate by slicing it open and sharing the contents, the yellow gooey contents. So I guess it's kind of a delicacy for them. Who knows? But anyway, he gets the ship parts back, offers the old man, I have spoken, to, he offers him a place as part of the crew because he wants to repay the man for helping him out. So this shows that the Mandalorian is actually a good guy. He's also pragmatic too. I mean, the old man has proved himself. He's been an ally to him. He wants to reward him in some way. So he has a code of honor. And this is character development. This is fleshing him out and establishing him as someone who has, a set of morals and a code of honor that he lives by. Old man turns him down because he says, look, I came to this planet, to basically to retire and make a life for myself. I don't want to be in servitude to anyone. So I mean, all right, so, they say their goodbyes. He blasts off into space with the child, and that's pretty much the episode. So, so we get a lot of world building here. Again, the big thing that I have as a problem with this show right now is the Yodaling being 50 years old when he probably should be, much older relative. But, again, we don't know really much of anything about Yoda's species. We don't know the planet he comes from, or even the name of the species, or even his physiology. So, it's kind of a cheat, and it's one that a lot of us Star Wars fans are calling out, rightly so, I think. But the level of writing for this show actually does kind of almost make up for it. And it's actually watchable too. So, I'm going to watch episode 3 today and try and get that uploaded. I got to work tomorrow. And then Sunday I'm going to be busy all day with stuff. So, but yeah, so, yeah, very interesting episode. What do you think about it? I want to hear your thoughts because I do want some feedback on what people want to listen to. And, it's a very interesting show so far. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we really should be getting on the big screen as part of the Disney trilogy, but we're not getting it. So, I kind of want to hear your feedback and what your thoughts are on this, because it seems like it's actually handling the source material with, a fair degree of respect and doing something new and different, which I like. So, yeah, so let me know in the comments if you like what you've heard and you want to hear more. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon and select all to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. Like this video, share it. If you want to help support the channel, keep the lights on, help us bring you more content, head over to our Patreon or subscribe to our page. Also have a tech fundraiser link in the description below. Can't do this without you. Until next time, this is Michael Wilk for The Wilk Report saying take care, good night, I'm out.